Maxamillian dude says no more Injustice games, and he's wrong, though he does make some good points. The games had too much zoning, way too much zoning. My god, why was there so much zoning? But also, they had the most muscular beefcake grapplers you could ever ask for. No, but seriously, the Rushdown characters were amazing. Cheetah, Flash, Bane, Grundy, basically any character that wasn't zoning in those games was fun. And to be completely frank with you, the best characters that NetherRealm has ever made, I'll put them on screen right now, they all came from the Injustice games. And that's because the Injustice games are incredibly creative. There's a reason I dedicated videos for every single one of them. I have a really bad headache today, which is most likely responsible for the lazy reaction video, but I promise to make it entertaining, and also my boy Maxamillian dude makes some good points. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting him in person a couple of times, and Max is always a pleasure to chat with. So don't get the wrong idea about this video and think I want beef or have anything less than the utmost respect for Maxamillian dude, because I think he's awesome, but I also wanted to make this video today. So without any further ado, let's begin.
I get it. A lot of the other stuff in Injustice is mad good. The customization, the towers, like all of that shit. But to be real, do you really want to have a game where projectiles are just insanely dominant on 75% of the roster and most of them are just people walking back and throwing shit?
Listen, it don't gotta be that way though. NetherRealm doesn't have to make the same game a third time. They can include all the fun Rushdown characters and just limit the zoners. I forgive them for the first Injustice game because everybody makes mistakes, but for Injustice 2, it seems like they were trying to make a point and go, look, we can make fun zoners, but then everyone yelled at them. So hopefully by now NetherRealm understands that we don't want a bunch of zoners in the fighting games. It's okay to have a couple, maybe even 3 if they're fun, but that's the limit. And thankfully, Injustice 2 had less zoners than the first game, but one zoner in particular was a nightmare. We'll talk more about him later on.
We're getting into the thick of it right now. And we're really going to start talking about true desires for the future of what the hell NRS is doing. Ed Boon is teasing a potential Injustice 3. And yeah, that does seem initially appealing to me. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to try to appeal towards your rational thought and not what you remember it being.
That's me with Mortal Kombat 9. Everyone tries to gaslight me and say, yo, that's the best Mortal Kombat game ever made. No, it's not. Mortal Kombat 2011 at the time was incredible, but if you go back and play it now with what you know about fighting games today, you would not feel the same way, especially if the online worked well and you had to constantly fight people who knew what they were doing. That game had so many bugs, so many exploits, random frame data, and the list goes on. Don't get me wrong, the roster was incredible, every character you could want, but trust me, the nonsense in that game would make you break controllers, and I saw it at local tournaments. People broke their controllers.
I'm going to be as honest as I can. I'm not telling you that your opinions are wrong. I'm just saying people are remembering a lighthearted side of what made Injustice 2 great. They were actually good. All of the gear and all that stuff on the unlockables and
see, I'm not misremembering it. I just want the next game to not have those zoners, because take them out of the equation and you have the best game NetherRealm could ever make, because the grapplers, Rushdown characters, even the more neutral game characters who focused on footsies were really fun in Injustice 2. It's only the zoners who ruined it for everybody else, so just keep them out of the next game and I think we're good. There's no reason to shut the door on Injustice 3 because of the zoners, just leave them out.
They were actually good. All of the gear and all that stuff on the unlockables and single player content and story mode, yes. Dude, I'm with you. All this stuff was amazing.
But the customization was peak. Everyone roasts Mortal Kombat 1 for having less customization than MK11, but somehow forgets that Injustice 2 did it better, and MK11 was a huge step down from Injustice 2. For some reason, MK11 never gets roasted. It's just Mortal Kombat 1, even though both of those games were a huge step down from the previous NetherRealm game.
Much so that they knew it from Injustice 1, because Injustice 1 and 2 are very similar. Like, in the history of NetherRealm Studios games, very infrequently are one game exactly like the next. Like MK9 and X had a lot of similarities, but clearly X was moving in a completely different direction, right? Completely different direction. For people that actually wanted to learn how to get good and invest a lot of time into Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, these games were brutally similar, where it was like, oh man, okay, this game is obviously improving on the previous one, but like, oh, my combos still work.
For the most part, this is true. My favorite characters got changed in a big way. The Flash lost 2 of his best moves for basically no reason. NetherRealm gave him new moves, but they just weren't as good and functioned way worse than the previous moves they got rid of. And the same is true for certain other characters like Catwoman. Her Forward 3 got changed and made way worse. She became more of a mid-screen zoner whiff punish character. character instead of a rushdown monster. And Bane, for some reason, lost his backbreaker. That's right, his iconic move from the comics that Bane is known for got removed in Injustice 2. Anyways, Maxamillian Dude is mostly right here. Injustice 1 and 2 were very similar games, and your knowledge of the previous game carried over, which is one of my favorite things about the Injustice games. Almost everything I learned in the previous game, I could carry over to the next and then build upon that knowledge if a character got new moves and stuff.
And sort of in a way was treated like it was a Tekken. From that point, legacy skill was really important. Yes, there was a lot of stuff that was 100% different, but they did not go from the ground up. It built upon itself. We know that's true.
Why is he using this footage? No, this is the early test footage that was not even ready for human eyeballs. Why is he showing this? Look at Alpha Supergirl.
That's
oh
true.
God, the faces look so bad on these versions of the characters, and their outfits too.
That was their approach with Injustice. My worry is that if there is an Injustice 3, I'm thinking in my head, I would like to think it would be a reevaluation of what a DC fighting game could be, what a DC superhero fighting game could be. But what they have proven in the past is that Injustice is a series that picks up off the previous one and does like micro improvements and adjustments. If there was an Injustice 3, it could just be sort of a similar thing.
Yeah, that's true. The main change that I appreciated in Injustice 2 was the environmental attacks getting toned down. In the first game, there were so many unblockables, and you could guarantee that crap with the right setup. Meaning, you could do a long combo, knock the opponent down, then throw an unblockable at them from the environment, and they had to eat that.
Just to throw out my overall thoughts on Injustice 2, I love some characters in that game, man. I love the way they play. I love the way the game looks, the single player content. Like all that stuff is literally amazing. But the game was so aggressively unfun, it was insane.
I blame one character in particular, Deadshot. And I foreshadowed this earlier. Injustice 2 actually has less keep away characters overall, and also some new universal abilities to help deal with keep away. But then Deadshot shows up and takes 10 gigantic leaps backwards because his keep away was so oppressive. His character was so overpowered that every grand finals had him, and I'm not joking. Deadshot might be the most overpowered character that NetherRealm has ever made, because I can't recall any other character that either won every tournament or at least made it to grand finals. In fact, some players who were character loyalists and normally only played the same character would switch to Deadshot if their opponent used Deadshot, because the only way to counter him was with himself.
At least in Injustice 1, you had some characters that literally countered all the insane zoning bullshit that characters had that was super powerful. A Martian Manhunter, or you had...
It's funny he mentions Martian Manhunter because that's actually a zoner too. In fact, he's one of the best zoners. However, he could be a counter zoner if you were nice, and it sounds like Maxamillian Dude played him that way. Batgirl was an amazing rushdown character, and she countered zoning super well, but unfortunately, she had her own set of shenanigans.
There was counterplay to really powerful, just sit from full screen, turn your brain off, throw projectile type shit. Injustice 2 didn't really have that. And this is why I think Injustice 1 is a more fun game than
I disagree. Injustice 2 definitely had some strong counter zoning characters. It was just Deadshot who couldn't be countered because he had so many stupid projectiles.
Most characters did not have the ability to immediately get you to stop thinking about it. So what did they do in Injustice 2? This is all boiling down to why, like, I don't think I want Injustice 3, man. They gave you quite literally a mechanic that'll get you across the whole goddamn screen.
It was not
at the
good.
price for a smaller amount of meter. They had the massive roll, where if you did forward and like this extra button, your character can do like an invulnerable roll.
See though, it's not actually the roll's fault, it's the recovery on the fireballs. NetherRealm for some reason has characters recover super fast after throwing projectiles, which is not how other fighting games do it. If you're playing Street Fighter and do Hadouken and I jump that crap, I can hit you for a full combo. Same thing in City of the Wolves and other 2D fighting games. If you throw a fireball and I know it's coming, I can punish you for it. For some reason, NetherRealm doesn't understand that concept. Even when you know the fireball is coming, let's say you jump in anticipation, the opponent can throw their fireball and still block in time. It's mind-boggling why NetherRealm doesn't get that fireballs and other projectiles are meant to have long recovery, which is why the roll ability sucked in Injustice 2. The fireballs recovered too quickly. On paper, that roll would have been great. It's invincible to fireballs and goes really far. It would have been perfect if NetherRealm just slowed down the recovery of the projectiles, but they never did. I think in Mortal Kombat 1, they finally learned and toned it down. So just keep it that way, NetherRealm, and Injustice 3 should be fine. When a character throws a fireball, they should have to recover for a bit. That's how it works. Please do that in the next game.
Every single character had this. It sucked. It didn't help the crazy zoning. In fact, it was never worth it. And what it eventually led to was not good. So they had to buff it like multiple times.
Yeah, they buffed the move instead of nerfing the fireballs. That's how little NetherRealm understands about keep away and the problem of their zoning in their own games.
And it never ended up actually being super valuable. Max, you're making shit up. The game wasn't that way. My dude, the developers knew.
You can watch the tournaments. Nobody should give Max any crap for this. Just watch the tournaments, watch high-level play, and you'll see exactly what he's talking about.
Like, they knew the game was that way. They put in a mechanic that would be there to counter that shit. So to me, it's like, okay, so yeah, the game is just admitting that Injustice is this way. So we're gonna add things for people to actually kind of want to like fight and not just throw shit.
It's crazy to me. I wonder if NetherRealm thinks that they just have to give these characters certain moves because they have that move in the comics, which is why so many characters have a bunch of projectiles, but you could just leave those moves out. It would be completely fine. Not every character needs a projectile. And also, why do the fireballs pass through each other? Why don't they cancel out like every other 2D fighting game?
Mechanically speaking, Injustice 2 and the way it handles like breakers and all that stuff, by the way, there's multiple breakers in the game now because there's the second round breakers, the clashes and shit, but there's also the worst breaker in fighting game history. The absolute.
And they carried it over to MK11. That's the crazy part. It takes NetherRealm 2 games to learn their mistakes, like every single time.
Worst idea of how we could break a combo, which is the stupid slip out. And it all deviated from Aquaman in Injustice 1, where he gets a little slippery with his gimmick, and he falls out of combos like faster. But he has to be slippery. So they're just like, hey, you know what? Let's put that in Injustice 2 for everyone, where you get the option of just breaking away out of a combo. From the get-go, I'm immediately like, this is not good. I don't like this because I've gotten the hit and I'm continuing to do the combo, and they would fall out of the combo and get up fast enough to punish you.
So when he said it was terrible, he didn't mean bad. A lot of you probably thought he meant bad. No, this move could work really well if timed correctly. You could punish the opponent for comboing you, which is so stupid.
They keep it in Mortal Kombat 11, and
Thank
it's
you.
just
Oh
as
my God.
fucked up and weird,
Ugh.
where you hit the ground first and then you get up, and I'm literally being punished for hitting you. So this is where I'm like, are you excited that Ed Boon is talking about a potential Injustice 3, thinking that we're gonna get a follow-up to Injustice 2? Not happy.
Being completely honest with you, most people, myself included, are just excited about the roster. Justice League and Teen Titans was our childhood, so to see these characters in a fighting game is just a dream come true, and some of them have not been in the first 2 games. So Injustice 3 could finally make it happen. I could finally play Beast Boy, and a bunch of other beloved characters from my childhood that I always brain fart on when I have to record a video, but trust me, there's a list of like 10 characters I want in Injustice 3, at least.
No, I don't know. Unless that game is being completely reworked. If that game gets turned into a game that, you know, prioritizes people actually fighting each other.
I don't think you have to rework anything. Just keep the zoners and keep away characters to a minimum, and I think you're fine. 2 or 3 zoners. That's it. That's all you get in NetherRealm. Do that for me, and I'm hands off. I'll have no critiques about the game.
Now, I would be down, but there are so many amazing characters in Injustice 2 that are stuck in that game and they can't do shit, dude. Them against some of the zoning crazy assholes that have their crazy diagonal lasers and shit and homing lightning and all this crazy bullshit. Dude, they just suck.
I wonder if he never played Black Manta or Enchantress and other characters that counter-zoned extremely well. I wonder if Maxamillian just didn't know about them, because Injustice 2 has some dedicated counter-zoners.
I'll use something that I'd be more excited for. Much more excited for, even if it came at a severe caveat. I would be much more excited about Mortal Kombat versus DC again. DC versus...
See, I would be excited for that too, but it would flop. I'm gonna keep it 100% with you, Max. That game would flop. From the infamy of the past game alone, that game would fail. Which sucks because I would love that game if it played like Injustice 2, or possibly Tag Team from MK9. I would love an MK versus DC game like that, but the name is mud. You can't redeem it at this point. I really don't think you can. And when I say you, I don't mean Maxamillian, dude. I mean anybody would fail at trying to make MK versus DC marketable.
Versus Marvel? Sure. We thought that was going to be happening for like the longest time, right? We were hoping that they'd make a DC versus Marvel. But in my eyes, I have to remind you about something, chat. The lead, like, president of WB Games
Alright everyone, my camera is about to die, it's low on battery, so sadly I can't watch the full video, but later on he covers how YouTubers struggle with Mortal Kombat content, which is absolutely true for all the reasons you already likely know about. The games are violent, the games are gory, and YouTube hates that, so it's a constant struggle to make videos that YouTube won't take your money from. But for Injustice games, that's not a problem, or rather any NetherRealm fighting game that's not Mortal Kombat would end these struggles for YouTubers like myself. Now does that mean I always want a different game over Mortal Kombat? No, absolutely not. It's just one more perk for Injustice 3. I mainly want that game to give me a break from Mortal Kombat games and to put my favorite childhood characters on the roster as well, but also I would never have to worry about YouTube taking down my video or getting mad at me over the content. That would never happen for Injustice 3, so yeah, that's just one more cherry on top. Sadly, that's about all I can say before the battery dies, so hopefully you enjoyed today's video everyone. Leave a like down below if you did, every like helps this channel out a ton. And then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.